All right, what's up, everybody? This is Drossiosi Samuels, and you are tuning in to episode 62 of the It Will Come Show. Now, today we're going to be talking about Zen, chaos, and breakthroughs. And this particular episode will just kind of go through actually 5 ways to actually deal with chaos or find your Zen within chaos, based off of some of the things that we know are obviously going on in the world right now, and a few articles that have been shared with me over the last 24 hours. So, without further ado, let's head in. All right, so here we have an article that was shared about how our environment practices make pandemics like the coronavirus more likely, and it's really more about the story we tell about pandemics casts us as a victim of nature when it's the other way around. And I would agree with this, right? At the moment, we are saying, oh, the coronavirus came from China. Trump has been saying China virus. Oh, the coronavirus came from bats. Well, actually, if you look at the conditions from which the virus, made its jump from a bat to human beings, it was actually a result of more the fact that we were putting these bats and these creatures in really unsafe, very high stress environments. And I remember reading a medical article too, talking about how because of all that, that's what actually causes these viruses to form, because they've just never these animals haven't been in scenarios like that where they're just being forced to cramp up against other animals, and just so many weird things happening. So if there's anyone to blame, it's not the bats, it's ourselves. We've and also supply and demand. If you want to look at the economics, right? If you want to look at the economics of supply and demand, because there is demand for these type of exotic creatures to be eaten, there is now a supply made for them. So we really got to think about these things when we're trying to put blame here and there, and we've got to start taking responsibility for a lot of these things. I know right now, you can see how different countries, just looking at that's not us, that's them, it's over there, it has nothing to do with me. But if you learn to understand how we are all connected, you can see how what other people do is also a reflection of ourselves. Not always, there's yin and yang, right? But if we can start to take responsibility for the actions of our fellow men and women around the world, it's just a mindset thing. You'll see how things change. So, going back. Right. So, in terms of there are sort of 5 ways that help me find some zen through all this chaos. Not only resilience. Actually, last night in our productivity accelerator, the pack, we had a really cool webinar called Resilience, and this is very much what these times, right, actually test your resilience, test your ability to overcome problems, issues that are swirling around right now and en masse. So there are a few things that hopefully can help you during this time. If you haven't heard of the term Zen before, Zen is the Japanese term for the principle of dhyana. I don't know if I'm saying that right in Buddhism. But Zen Buddhism is very popular, or was very popular in Japan and a lot of other Asian countries. But Zen, when you hear it, it's often referred to about like just finding your calm, your peace. And so, if we look at this particular one, there are many different ways to find your calm and peace. Some people are finding apps like Calm, as you can see here, right here, really useful. Headspace is another one that is really useful, and what they do is just take you through guided meditations, etc. True Zen, however, well, at least in my opinion, should be able to be found without the use of external devices, so without the use of apps, right? So although these technologies, these apps are great for guiding you, remember at the end you'd like to be able to not have to rely or be addicted to any of that sort of external stimuli. Okay. With that, there's also another uh, app which I use personally called Sleep Cycle. This tracks your sleep throughout the night. Doesn't require a wristband or anything, and it's actually been quite accurate and has provided some really deep, useful insights. It also tracks things like moon cycles and its impacts. Might ask you a few questions before you go to sleep. And I'm still working on this. Obviously, I got work all the time, so I try to. It will tell you if you're not getting consistent sleep, right? And it will tell you the impact of that. And so having that little prompt reminder obviously does help for people who are really busy, right? Another one that is useful is journaling. All right, so journaling is a way of just being able to take everything that's in your mind, right? If you struggle with anxiety or stress when you're sleeping, journaling is just a great way to be able to dump everything onto paper, right? It just gets it out of your head and into written form. Some people have rituals where they can burn paper if there's a lot of like really negative thoughts there, but this is a great practice if you don't already do it to be able to do on a daily basis. So what I'm showing you on screen here is just from one of our past episodes for the It Will Come show, episode 26. There's something called a 5-minute journal. I think it was Tim Ferriss or some other prominent influencer who created this, and we essentially created our own version of the 5-minute journal based on our program, The Pack. So if you'd like to download this, it should be free. Actually, I think it's a pay what you want sort of mechanism, so you don't have to pay. But if I'll share the link, itwillcode.me/E26. You can go and download the hack journal here. What this means is that you'll actually get a PDF, and you can print it out, and go old school, and literally just staple it together or tape it together, and then you have your own hack 5-minute journal. It's got prompts there. Can be very, very useful. With that, the next tip that I have is movement. All right, so this was for me movement and just understanding the power of movement to get you out of any sort of funk that you're in. I really learned this when I attended an event by Tony Robbins, and I think what was it called? Nope. Unleash the Power Within. Yep, I think that was the event that I went to. And Tony Robbins talks about peak states. And essentially how I would sum it up is when you're feeling low, right, literally get up and move the body, because it has a reverse effect, right? A lot of the times we think we need to get our mind right in order to start moving, but actually if you just force yourself to move your body, it can get your mind back into a positive state or a peak state. A lot of professional athletes know about this, they know how to use it, and it's something that if you haven't considered before, literally it's like if you're working, you're feeling tired, you're in a slump, just put on one of your favorite songs, get up and dance randomly. Doesn't matter who's watching. Well, it might, depending on how you are with that or how comfortable you are with yourself, but just get up and move. Exercise is why exercise can be very, very helpful and useful. More oxygen gets into your body, and you just get to be a little bit more fit, right? So that's a peak state movement. So that would be 1, 2, 3, tip number 4. And then finally, actually tip number 5 is to solve problems. Okay, so I've put up Sudoku here because actually a fair few people I know, when they're stressed or they got some downtime, actually they usually like to just play Sudoku. It can be any sort of problem, right? If you like puzzles, do puzzles. If you like games, you can play games, right? Because you can actually solve a lot of problems too. I'm a big fan of real-time strategy games, and so I often, in the past, would play strategy games. I'm also a fan of Go. So if you haven't heard of Go, it's also known as Weiqi. For all you Chinese speakers, Mandarin, please let me know if I pronounce that right or not. But it's Weiqui, and that's one of my favorite games. And yeah, it's just, and if you're an entrepreneur, of course, if you're an entrepreneur, solving problems means just like looking at stuff around you and figuring out how can I actually create an opportunity out of this? How can I solve a client's problem? How can I solve immediate problems around? But kind of putting yourself in that state of helping to solve problems, it goes both ways. You get to help other people and you help yourself at the same time. For me personally, that's something that I do enjoy doing. And a lot of this is really just about helping you to break through, right, any sort of chaos or funk, and give you some sort of focus. And speaking of breakthroughs, thought I'd just share this event, which is actually happening in about half an hour. So this event is called Breakthrough. Part of the team that has actually helped put this together. It is powered by Draper Startup House, and they are a global chain of startup hostels. And Breakthrough really, of course, was inspired by what we're seeing in the world right now. There's been a lot of uncertainty, despair, hopelessness, and we know that entrepreneurs have a great opportunity to provide hope back to people. And so this event is going to be running for the next 24 hours. So right now it is 11:25 Singapore time. We're looking to go live at 12 p.m. Singapore time. And so we have a host of speakers, from Tim Draper to Craig Wright to Jeanette from the Hacker Exchange, and many, many more. Right. So if I actually just click on this, you can see here, this is the full schedule. All right. So if you haven't registered for this, I highly recommend you go to breakthroughcon.co, as you can see there. So that's breakthroughcon for conference.co. Register your details, and you'll get an email with the link to the live YouTube stream. All right. And with that, I'll be on as much as I can over the next 24 hours. So it's going to be a very long one. And I will also be interviewing Craig Wright at 9 p.m. Singapore time. And I will also be on a panel related to the blockchain space at around 2 p.m., I believe, Singapore time. So again, if you haven't had a chance to register, please go register now. I'll see you on the other side. And I hope today's tips help you navigate some of that chaos and help you find Zen in your chaos, breaking through. And remember, as always, through patience and persistence, it will come.